Hello guys, here is Abdullah Zaloul, and today's discussion is FrankenPHP, the all-in-one ultimate runtime for Laravel. So if you are working with PHP and Laravel, you are missing some feature like server sent event at a specific URL, not just streaming one, and Websocket, and you are missing worker mode. And usually you are using the classic mode. So firstly, we should know about the difference between classic mode and worker mode. But the question firstly, why we need a classic mode worker mode? Because of PHP CLI can handle only one request because of PHP is a single threaded language. So one process, one thread, and one request can be handled using PHP CLI. So we need anything called worker and worker manager. This is just a clone of processes or threads. In case of FBM, it will be a clone of process. Every process have its own PHP CLI, so any request will take a process from fast CGI using FBM, which is fast CGI process manager. So let's go to discuss the legacy mode. So the classic mode here, the request comes from the client to the edge server. In case of edge server, meaning the server which faces the client directly, it may be a load balancer or API gateway, at the port HTTPS 443, they are doing TLS handshake between the client and the edge server. Then edge server redirect normal HTTP at port 80 to the upstream or behind server, which is Apache or Nginx. Then it will redirect to FBM worker manager here, which will give every request the fast CGI worker process. But why we don't directly forward from edge server to FBM? Because FBM know about the worker process fast CGI protocol only. It doesn't understand HTTP. So we need the server to handle the HTTP, redirect the fast CGI protocol to FBM. Then FBM will take the request and give it its own process. Then the process carries a Laravel app and the PHP, and after the end, the process will be called. This is the classic FBM. What about worker mode? If you are using Octane, so once the request came here from the upstream server, it will go for the port, this one, 8000, to Octane. Octane here is a package at Laravel included in the runtime. It is working as a server worker manager and a state manager. So it will reset the app state because Laravel dependency is different than Symfony and other PHP dependencies because it has been full of facades and the dependencies here may be unsafe. So it needs some package to reset the state of the static variables of those facades. So I'm not a big fan of using Octane as a server worker manager. I just need Octane to be a state manager, and I will say why here. But let's go. Now Octane will give a cached Laravel app as a worker according to type of worker, if it is FrankenPHP or Roadrunner. But in this approach, Octane is leading the worker manager, and it is a server worker manager, beside being a state manager. This is not good because let's say if the worker itself have been died, Octane will do nothing because Octane is included in the worker. So the God flow here is the server leads the worker and the worker leads the PHP runtime and packages like Laravel and Octane. So I have to handle FrankenPHP using this flow. The HTTPS came from the client to the edge server at the port 443. TLS handshake has been done here. Then it will forward directly to the Caddy FrankenPHP. So in case of FrankenPHP directly, it consists of 3 embedded parts. All is one program, one binary file embedded in one configuration file called the Caddy. So at one configuration file, you will handle the worker, the PHP runtime, and the server. So after this, the coroutine thread of Caddy will give every request a thread, and Octane here is just working as a state manager. It will reset the app to the original state after every request, and your app will not boot every time. So let's go for this approach, giving it a demo here, then go to our documentation. So I have here a launcher. This launcher Caddy needed things for me. I configure it. So it have a method to PHP UI, a dial optimization, Caddy start to start my Caddy, and Websocket start to start Laravel Reverb. Keep in mind that FrankenPHP at the local consists of one binary file embedded 3 parts. The first part is PHP Zend thread save because it will use coroutine using the FrankenPHP worker. So every thread will handle a request. It will be carry PHP Zend thread save, and the Caddy server is the manager of all of these things. So you are working with one configuration file at Caddy. So the Caddy manage all the things here as the Caddyfile. So this is the Caddyfile. The first race here is the global configuration, and this is the site configuration. So for me, I add the site configuration like app board, root PHP, file server, request body, and the encoding way. This is Mercure, which is a module for server sent event at a specific URL. And this is the check health for your application. So the difference between the app method, the app endpoint at Laravel, rather than this health, this is a live message check, meaning the response will come directly from the caddy to the load balancer, meaning your application, your container is up, not your application. But if you need to load your application and ensure it is up, you will go for the Laravel app method here, app endpoint. So the configuration here, this is the server configuration, this is the worker configuration, and here we go. So if you need to work with the classic mode, you will set the number of thread and the max thread. So usually if you have a CPU with 2 core, so the number thread and max thread should be the double of it. And you may make the max thread to O2 and the number thread double of your own CPU. Because the cost of creating a thread is cheaper than creating a process. This is for the classic mode, meaning the app will still boot every request, but it is more performant than FPL. But if we go for worker mode, all what you do is just to do with worker here and type where the worker is founded. Usually Laravel create a worker for you, but I make it at the public index here and give the number of the thread, maybe 4, maybe 8, according to your own scalability. So at my launcher here, I just put some utils like optimizing my dials, and here I make caddy config, which adds a worker mode for us according to the board. So I have done a configuration like port 80. I make port 80 for classic mode and the port of 8000 for worker mode. So if we open our public index here, and if we open PHP worker, the PHP worker here, this is from Octane. It will go for your own Laravel application to the vendor to this one. So I take this code and paste it here inside the index, inside this method of worker mode. And of course, the classic mode of Laravel, which will kill the kernel after the request, I put it inside classic mode. And just make it according to the app port, meaning if it is 8000, it will be worker mode, if else it will be a classic mode. So once I change my env variable, it will change the app from worker mode to classic mode and vice versa. This is the power of Caddy here and the native one. So I don't need this anymore. And let's go for our environment variable. So now we are at the port 80. If we open our app service provider here, I register a singleton state. So Octane is responsible for resetting the state of your own application, but not your own code. So if you type a bad code that includes a static variable here, it will reset it after the number of requests according to Octane configuration. So if you open it and go here, for this one, you may find the following. Max request to reset app container after it. So according to the current, I make it 4 to test it, and let's start our caddy start. Now it remove all the needed dials, refresh my app, optimize the cache, and I will go for localhost here. So once I say localhost, I create a update. Now it works fine. But we have app state. This endpoint will do the following. It will do the app state counter increment. So if we go here inside routes and go inside this one, I make app state to get the app state from the container one and request counter. So usually Octane will reset the normal variable, but the static variable will not be resetted only after the max request. That's why Octane is here. And this is my process ID. So if I do refresh here, now the static counter is fine and this is fine because we are working on the classic mode. So this means my app is boot every time. And if we go here to change our environment variable, this one, and make it instead of 80, it will be 80,000. So I will restart the caddy here. Now it is serving at the port 8000. So I will do the following here. Now we are in the worker mode. So I will refresh here. As you can see, request counter static will be 2 and the maximum request will be 4 and the same. This means our app is still cached in memory. It never boot again. And another refresh here, it is still, it will reset according to the max request, which you configured as the Octane configuration here. And you will note that it is the same process ID, meaning we are working in a thread-based approach using FrankenPHP. And now let's test server sent event using FrankenPHP. I install a package called Laravel Mercure broadcaster. So the Mercure module, which is responsible for handling server sent event. You put your publisher JWT here and subscriber JWT. The publisher is our Laravel app. The subscriber is asterisk and anonymous, meaning anyone can deal with without authentication. And this is where he stores the event IDs. So going for the configuration, we have a broadcasting driver here called Mercure. So this is the URL of Mercure, and secret will be used for authentication. So it will end us with will know in Mercure. So let's serve our application here and be sure that our broadcast driver is Mercure. Now we will caddy start and going here to the local host. Now this is the server sent event template that I created. So I will call event messages.1 and here we are doing connecting to this URL. At my Laravel app, I use the package, this package called the Laravel Mercure Broadcaster. So once I install it, and I go here, create a server sent event, and make the broadcaster is my all-in-one. Driver is called the Mercure. So let's go here and fire this server sent event using our Tinker. So I will go here, call PHP artisan Tinker. And now we are doing server sent event, and the pass the name is messages, and it will the topic will be message concatenated with one, and the number one is the value here. So I send the event directly. If we open our browser, now the event received. And let's go to change it to number 2 here. It will be received also here. And if we go for our FrankenPHP, it gives you new subscriber, update published, and this is the messages here, and this is the topic here. What about Websocket? So if you're working with PHP, you know about Reverb, which is built in a library called React PHP. So I just installed PHP Reverb, and you know this that we are working with Zend thread save, meaning Zend thread save here. If I say PHP-v, it will say this one is the thread save one, and the PHP-ini will be founded inside PHP ZTS. So if you install PHP ZTS, you can do the following: PHP ZTS instead of PHP and say artisan serve or any command. But if you need it to be utilized using the alias PHP, all what you do is just link it to the PHP dir. And here we go, you can utilize the alias. You can install any version of PHP static 1 and 3, one from this version. So this is the thread save one. And after that, you can install FrankenPHP. And here we go. Let's go for Reverb. I will go here and stop this one, yeah. And I will say Websocket start. So once I do this, it will do the following command, which is Reverb start here and pass the parameters of my environment variable. Now we are serving a WebSocket using Reverb at this port, which is 8080. So let's serve our PHP using Caddy. And before doing this, we should change our broadcast driver to Reverb. So I want to go here and start my Reverb and go here and do Caddy start. Now I will go for the Tinker here and say PHP artisan Tinker to file events using this one. And let's go to our blade right now. Now this is WebSocket. So the channel may be messages and the name will be messages.1. Now it is subscribing to messages. So how to fire an event? I create a WebSocket event here and our driver is Reverb. It is normal event. So all what you do is interact with socket and here we go. So let's go here and fire this event, which is WebSocket event and message, the same message here, number 1, for example. It will be received as a browser, as you can see here. Now everything is working fine. This is my HTML blade at welcome that I'm using right now. I just add the app host, app port, and the HTTP scheme, and I just listen using JavaScript, using the pusher here, just as an interface, not only I create a pusher here and pass the parameters here from my WebSocket pass, and here we go. Now I subscribe and get the data, and as you can see, I review it for you. And here we go. Hope you are doing well. And the next, we should know about how to configure Caddyfile according to our CPU and memory. As we mentioned, if you are working with classic mode, you should care about number thread. If you are working with worker mode, you should care about worker mode only. If you open this documentation for FrankenPHP, it have a performance optimization way. You can read it, and it have another configuration for FrankenPHP, which embed the caddy, and this is all the available option because you can make worker for a specific URL only to be served with it. And this link have a comparison between the different PHP runtime, like Soul, like FrankenPHP, Roadrunner, and all the other and FVM, of course. So please check it, and here we go.